Okay, so let's talk about form, musical form. I want to start this one on slide 11, and then we'll go back to 10 with a kind of formal definition of musical form. But this one I think might be better just to kind of jump right into one of the specific musical forms. So, slide 11. Let's talk about strophic form. So, strophic form is a kind of form which um, you probably know about and you hear in the music that you listen to. It's been around for thousands of years and it's still here with us in 2020. Um, so, strophic form is a kind of form in which we take the same melody and we repeat it with each verse, right, of the text. So let's look once again at our example of Something by the Beatles. So the melody, again, if you recall, we've used it many times, goes something in the way she moves, right? Attracts me like no other lover. Okay, so we've heard it. I've done it a bunch of times already. So that's the melody for something, right? So with strophic form, we're going to take that same melody, um, except we're going to use different words. So here, to kind of clear this up a little bit, let's just look at something here. Let's just look at the music here. So what I was just playing, I was singing the melody, right, which are these notes up here on the staff, but I was also singing these words, right? Something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. Something in the way she woos me, and so on, okay? So then what happens after I go, I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe and how. And then I play these little chords. And then I repeat back to here. Except now I'm going to plug in these other words of verse number 2, which I hope you can see right there. So now, instead of singing something in the way she moves, I'm going to sing somewhere in her smile she knows, right? But to the same melody. So now, for verse 2, I'm going to go, somewhere in her smile she knows. Then how does we go? That I don't need no other lover. Okay, so that's going to be verse 2. So what I'm doing here basically is I'm singing the same melody, right? The right, but with different words, okay? Different text. So that's what strophic form is. All right? So it's just singing the same melody, but then using different words. So in this structure called strophic form, while the music within the stanza offers some contrast, meaning even though the words change, it's repetition, meaning that the repetition is the melody, even though the repetition, the repetition stays, it binds the song together. So just to to sum this one up, play this one last time here. So with verse number 1, which I've already played before in several other lectures, but then I'm going to go into verse 2, right? And once again, notice that the melody, right, this thing, stays the same. Okay, so we'll go, let's see here. Something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. Something in the way she woos me. I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how. And then, now I'm going to go to verse 2. Same melody and also same chords. So now I go, somewhere in her smile she knows that I don't need no other lover. Something in her style that shows me I don't want to leave her now, and so on. Okay, so that's strophic form. All right, start listening for that in the music that you already listened to, and also pull up the clip of something. I know you're probably tired of this song, but just do it anyway. Notice the structure of this song, right? That is, notice the form. It goes, okay, verse 1, right? Which we did something in the way she moves. And then we go through. Here, I'll even point it out on here. That'll make more sense. So notice the structure. We do verse number 1. That means we start here. Something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. Something in the way she woos me. Okay, so we do, and then I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe and how. So then we go from here back to the beginning, but we plug in verse number 2 for the words. So everything about the melody and the chords stays the same, but the words change. We plug in these new words. Then, after that, we go to this thing called the chorus, which I circled here. Hopefully you can see that. And then we do the chorus, and we're going to talk about choruses in another chapter later. And then what happens in the recording that you'll listen to, we go back to the beginning after the chorus, and I think they do a guitar solo. So they play the same chords, right, in this same structure, but they do a guitar solo. And then I think they do the chorus again, and then we go back and do verse number 3. Or something along those lines. So notice the structure for something while you're listening to it. Like, okay, I can hear these parts repeating. They're coming back, just different words. Okay, so now let's move on to, let's actually go to slide number 10. So we're going back one slide. So now let's talk a little bit about a formal definition of form. We're going to talk about different kinds of form. Strophic form, which we just talked about, is one kind of form, but we're going to talk about several other kinds. So form refers to a piece of music's structure or shape. All right, so we just talked about the structure of something, right? We go verse 1, then we do verse 2, then we do chorus, and then we do, I think it's a guitar solo, and then chorus, and then verse 3. It might be a little different than that, but it's very close to that. So we refer to the piece of music's structure or shape. So that was the structure. The Beatles, they got together, and they were like, okay, we're going to do verse 1, and that's the first part of the structure. Then we're going to do verse 2, right? And that was the second part, and then we're going to do the chorus. That's the third part of the structure. Then we're going to go back to the beginning with the same chords as the verse 1 and 2, but we're going to do a guitar solo. And then we're going to do verse 3, and then we're going to do, after that, a chorus or something like that. But there is this structure to it, right? That's the form. So the form is this organizing principle in music, right? This is how we just kind of, we organize these parts of the song or piece of music in a kind of coherent way. So the basic elements of form are three things. We have repetition, contrast, and variation. So repetition is what fixes the material in our minds and satisfies our need for the familiar, right? As humans, we like things that are familiar, right? We like things that are comfortable. And so in something, what part repeats, right? The melody, right? This part, or sorry, and the chords repeat. But then what contrasts, right? What's the contrast? The words are what contrast, right? This is what the words are different, even though the melody is the same. So that contrast stimulates our interest and feeds our desire for change. So as human beings, even though we like repetition, right? We like to do some of the same things all the time. We also like change, right? We like to go on a vacation somewhere we've never been, right? We like to eat different kinds of foods that we never had before. But we all, that's the contrast. But we also like things that we have our favorite foods, right? We like our favorite things or songs or whatever it is. So we have our repetition, our contrast, and then with form, we also have something called variation. And variation kind of lies somewhere in between repetition and contrast. We're going to talk more about repetition a little bit later in this chapter. So for now, just think variation refers to a kind of, if repetition is over here and it's just strict repetition, like we do it exactly the same every time, and then contrast is maybe over here and we say now it's different every time. Variation is kind of in the middle. It's kind of different from the contrast, but we can also recognize the sameness of the repetition. So, all right, keep those in mind as we move through this chapter on musical form. All right, so let's now move on. Okay, so we're going to pass slide 11 because we already talked about it. That's strophic form. So that's our first form. But now let's look at through composed form. So through composed. So this is our second type of form, and this is a type of composition, a type of a piece of music or a song in which no main section of the music or text is repeated. Okay, so listen to the clip I have here on slide number 12, Prelude in A minor by Elisabeth Jacquet de la Guerre. She was a composer from France in the late 1600s, early 1700s. And notice, in fact, let's see, I have it brought up here. And you don't have to listen to the whole, actually don't listen, well, as far as through composed form, only listen to the very beginning, the first about minute and up to about 1 minute and 56 seconds. That's through composed. So as you're listening to this, notice that nothing is really repeating, okay? Also, this is a kind of non-metrical music. Remember when back in the chapter on rhythm, we talked about non-metric music? There's no steady pulse either on this, so. Okay, so I'll let you listen to that on your own, and you'll have better audio quality like that. I'm sure when listening from my speaker to my microphone, it's not that great. So pull that up on your own, listen to it, close your eyes, really tune into that. It's just kind of a wash of sound, and there's no there's no repetition, right? Okay,